It's college basketball recruiting season. Hubert Davis is on the road checking out several class of 25 targets, including one who showed out in a big way on Tuesday.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Wednesday, June 12th, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, and you're joining us at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. Thanks for making us your first listen or watch, and I want to give a special shout out to all you everydayers out there, as well as all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord. So glad that you're all here. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Coming up on the show today, we are going to talk about Acaden Lewis, which is the guy I was referencing that Carolina was watching on Tuesday, amongst other players. We're also going to look at why are the Tar Heels now starting to show interest in some players that are ranked a little bit further down the rankings in the class of 25. And then we're going to continue getting ready for the Diamond Heels on their road to Omaha, which they will begin action in on Friday. Crazy stuff. Can't wait for that. Going to be a fun show today. Let's get right into this with Acaden Lewis. And one of the things that we do often this time of year is start getting to know some of the recruiting names to know. And Lewis is one of those in the class of 2025. Obviously, we've kind of turned the page from 2024. And I'm honestly a few days late to Acaden Lewis, but I just saw on Tuesday afternoon that several days ago, Tuesday was the 11th. This was a tweet from back on June 7th. So I guess we were busy with super regionals. But on Tuesday, I noticed that Colby Giacubeno, I think is how you say his name, of Made Hoops, who's a scouting guy, noted that Carolina has reached out to Acaden Lewis. They have not yet offered him, but they have reached out and begun conversations. I bring this up now, though, because he played a big-time game on Tuesday. So let me update you on him, his bio, and a couple things like that. He's in the 6'2", 6'3" range, so good size for guard, 170. Depending on where you look, he's listed as a point guard or a combo guard. Watching his game, I would have him more in that combo guard realm. He's not a pure, Elliot, Cadeau, Kendall Marshall type point guard. Really more of a combo guy. He's a rising senior, obviously class of 2025, a lefty. You always love to see that. For me, I'm a southpaw. Any of you other southpaws out there, let me hear from you. You love to see it. And we'll talk about this in a little bit, but my man is willing and able and capable to use his right hand as well. He goes to Sidwell Friends School in the Washington, D.C. area, lives just right around there in the DMV. His composite ranking is 79. And where he sits in the major four recruiting services, ESPN is the highest on him at 67. On3 has him at 80. 247 Sports 81, and Rivals has him 106. He's a 4-star player right now. His stats last year, his junior year at Sidwell Friends, 14.5 points a game, 5.7 rebounds, 4.3 assists, 48% from the field, and 37% from three. And this kid's not just filling it up, man. He is helping his team come along back-to-back state championships. You'll love to see that. In fact, last year, he was DC's Gatorade Player of the Year. And this summer at EYBL, he's been playing on Team Durant. Keep in mind, KD is from the DMV area, so that makes a lot of sense there as well. Well, what's critical to this specific moment is the NBPA Top 100 camp is going on this week, NBA Players Association camp. And college coaches were able to go to that starting on Tuesday, and then the camp wraps up today, Wednesday. So Coach Davis is there. I believe some of the assistants are there. I'm not sure if it's everyone or a couple, but from the articles that are out about it, it just, it'll say a player and then says a North Carolina assistant was watching, but I never saw, specification of Sean May or Jeff Lebo or anything like that. But had a game Tuesday morning where this dude went off. 23 points, 9 of 12 from the field, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Read multiple articles about this game. One of them said he was far and away the best player out there. 247's Travis Branham said this about Acaden Lewis from that game. Quote, Lewis came away as the MVP of this game. His dynamic ball skills and scoring ability created opportunities for himself and others. You love that. Time and time again. He drilled shots from 3, got in the paint, finished around the rim, and was efficient in his production. And so really good stuff there. And that's high praise from Travis Branham, who sees these guys every day. In terms of, schools going after Lewis and who's looking at him, there are a lot of offers on the table. And the truth of the matter is his recruitment is only heating up, right? It had been, as you look through kind of the timeline of offers, kind of some schools up in the DMV area, lower level schools, but then like Maryland gets in on it, other things like that. And the tiers just keep growing. The biggest offers he has right now, scanning through his list, I would classify as Florida State, Louisville, Miami, Michigan, Oregon, and Villanova is probably the team that in recent years has been the best of those offers, although they haven't been as good the past couple years since Jay Wright's retirement. But this thing is growing. Not only has Carolina shown interest, Kentucky's shown interest. Sounds like Kansas is getting in on it. And Lewis is taking an unofficial visit to Kentucky. The date I've seen is June 17th on that, so about 5 days from now. He has taken a couple visits, more official visits already, Florida State, Virginia, and Georgetown. And so this is a guy that if Carolina wants to get all in on and offer, again, reminder, they haven't yet offered him. They're going to have to do so against a lot of other high-level schools, which is the kind of kids that Carolina is going to be recruiting, of course. So let's talk about his game, because I got to tell you, there is a lot that I like about Acaden Lewis's game. He's got really good handles. He's got a strong floater. He uses it well with both hands. And that's a key thing for me. As I watch his game, you can tell it obviously when he shoots from outside or mid-range that he is a lefty. But he is good enough with both his left and right that right around the rim or floater game or stuff like that, if you weren't dialed in paying attention, you wouldn't know which handedness he is. He's that level with his offhand, with his right hand. So I love that about his game. He's a shot creator. I mean, his creativeness as a finisher, getting the ball to the basket, contorting his body at weird angles, making plays happen is really impressive to me. And it's not like, you see some guys that do stuff like that and it's like, okay, homie, chill out on it. Like, I don't need to be seeing all that. What are we doing? You know what I mean? But with Acaden Lewis, it's like he's doing it with a purpose. It's not because he got caught and had to just throw something up. It's because like, oh, I see something weird and wild my body can do. And so I'm going to try to make it happen that way. Almost think of it like a quarterback who can make stuff happen for us. Think about it like Drake May going backyard, as he likes to talk about, or like a Brett Favre or a Patrick Mahomes, just making plays happen. That's what Acaden Lewis does and what I see from his game. Also, from watching interviews with him, seeing him talk to people, he strikes me as a fun kid, has good energy, good vibe about him. Some kids you just watch and you're like, watch them talk or interact, and it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know about this guy. But you watch Acaden Lewis, and I'm encouraged. Really, really seems like a Carolina kid. Read some things about him giving back to places that have poured into him, things of that nature. So I'm in on that. I like him. He seems like a Carolina kid, and it makes a lot of sense for the Tar Heels to go after him. The question that I have is, are the Tar Heels in on him too late? There's a lot of other schools, obviously, that have offered. I think his offers are up in the high 20s or something like that. But the Tar Heels do have a connection to the DMV area. You think of somebody like Ty Lawson. And also, when schools like Carolina and Kansas and Kentucky start calling and coming around, kids take notice of that. So this is one to watch. We will wait to see if Carolina does end up offering him ultimately, and then how those conversations go moving from there. Now, What's interesting about Acaden Lewis and some of the other scholarship offers that Carolina has recently extended is that some of these recruits in the class of 2025 are not as highly ranked as some of Carolina's early offers in this class. What does that indicate, and why might Carolina be doing this? I want to give you several things that I have thoughts on about that and why the Tar Heels might be making these other offers. We'll do that in just a second. Right after I tell you about game time, the NBA finals are rolling along and maybe you want to get to a game. Well, great news. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip off. They've got killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with all of those things. How about this? NBA Finals Game 3 tonight in Dallas, and there's a ticket I found as low as $448 to an NBA Finals game. Man, go check that out if you're in the DFW area or just within a couple hours. It's pretty cool. Right now, there's several flash deals going on. I looked at it literally just before I hit record. Section 327, row T. There's a ticket that was $600 reduced down to $514. I found a lower level ticket, $242 off from $1698 down to $1456, like on a sideline, not even in the corner. So great deals, and you should get in on that. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download their app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. North Carolina's offer sheet in the class of 2025 is currently sitting at 14 scholarship offers out there, if I have my accounting right. And I'm pretty sure I do because I keep a document of it. And what's really interesting about the players Carolina has offered in this class is that originally and initially, Carolina was making offers of guys all in the top 10, top 15 range, not even bothering to make offers outside of that. You have just list some of them. AJ DeBanza, number 1 in the class, Cam Boozer, number 2, Darren Peterson, number 3, Koa Pete, 5th, Caleb Wilson, number 6, Isaiah Harwell, 7, Bryson Tiller, 8, Jasper Johnson, 10. That's 8 of the top 10 players. Cam Boozer's twin brother, Caden, 15th. Recently, Nate Ament, number 13. We'll do a show about him sometime soon. But what's interesting is that Carolina has now started to offer and or show interest in even players they haven't offered yet that are ranked either somewhat or significantly lower than that in the rankings, and obviously depending on what site you look at. And that can indicate several things. And so I've just got 4 different things that I want to mention of why Carolina might be going about doing this. But I'll give you some of those other names. You've got Malachi Moreno, a legit 7-foot dude, who, by the way, that game we talked about with excuse me, with Lewis earlier, with Acaden Lewis, Moreno himself put up 23 points, 15 boards, and 2 blocks. So he's somebody to keep an eye on. He's 26th in the nation. Outside of that top elite group, he's the next highest. But then you got Nick Hymenia, who is ranked 38th, and then it really falls off after that. Derek Dixon has an offer. He's like 78th in the class. Braylon Mullins has an offer. He's 94th. As we talked about, Acaden Lewis doesn't have an offer yet, but he's 79th. And so you start to look at this, and it's like, all right. And I've said all along, if you've been with us, you know this, you're not even going to come close. And frankly, you don't want to come close to getting even, you're definitely not going to get all, but you don't even expect or want to get the majority of these young men, because part of it is, in this day and age, you want to build your roster through guys you've already got on it. You want to build your roster through the transfer portal, guys with more experience, and then sprinkle in some high school players that either are ready to go right now, like an AJ DeBanza, who's going to step in and be an absolute dude wherever he goes, or guys that you think might stick around 2, 3, 4 years that you can really develop and make into program guys. The question is, can you get them to stay in this day and age? That's a big part of that consideration. So why are we seeing an expansion? Why are we seeing guys, with all of those offers in the top 10, 15, why are there several lower offers or interests right now? I've got 4 ideas on why that could be. Number 1, Carolina is already starting to recognize that they are not going to get as many of those those top elite guys as they thought, or might, not be in the final 5 or final 6 for as many of those top ranked guys as they thought. Of the 8 or 9, let's say Carolina is in the running for 3 of them. They might say, all right, that's good. We think out of that 3, maybe we get 1, maybe we get 2. And so that means we need to expand our search base. We need to expand our scholarship offers, because we maybe thought we were going to be in on more of these guys. And then as they narrow options down, maybe we could land a couple. But maybe the Tar Heels are seeing that more than they thought are not in on them. Number 2 idea. Beyond the tip-top elite 5-star talent, the coaching staff is probably going to have a specific desire to round out their offers with both that ready-made talent, but also developing talent that you want. Because even in this day and age where you're looking to get guys that can come in the transfer portal, maybe play a couple years if they've got eligibility left, at least, be there for 1 year, and getting elite high school talent, you also can't forsake the idea of a program. You can't just give up on it, because you are still going to have guys like an RJ Davis or an Armando Bacot that just stick around for year after year after year. And when you think about the tip top elite guys, sure, Elliot's coming back to school, but a lot of these top 10, top 15 guys are going to be off to the NBA after year 1. And so it's not just about hoarding the very best talent. It's about getting the right combination, the right fit, the right pieces, who can be program guys, who can be Carolina guys. And that's not always just necessarily like, all right, go just scattershot off for everyone in the top 10. So number 1 reason Carolina might be doing this, being a legit player for maybe not as many of those guys as they first thought. Number 2, out of a specific desire to round out the ready-made talent with the developing talent. Number 3 reason for me is that Carolina can be seeing some of these guys as potential risers. Like, sure, right now they're down in the 70s, but when this is all said and done, they could be top 10, top 15. And so wanting to get in on players like that before they rocket up the board. So think of Drake Powell as a great example of this. Obviously now he is ranked extremely highly up in Ian Jackson territory. It has not always been that way. Drake Powell's game just continued to grow and evolve, and he grew onto more and more radars, and now he is ranked where he is. Are some of these players like an Acaden Lewis in that realm where it's like, hey, you better get in on him now because he's about to skyrocket, and then literally everybody's going to be trying to offer him. So maybe Carolina is seeing some of these guys as potential risers. And number 4 is we just got to always recognize it's just a fact of life and maturation and skill growth that there's every year going to be guys that pop later, or that, are finally starting to go to camps that hadn't been, starting to play on the EYBL circuit or other AAU circuits that just hadn't been. And so we're just now learning about them. There's how many tens of hundreds of thousands of basketball players around the country, in high school. And it's hard to uncover all of them. So there's always going to be guys that are becoming available or becoming known later in the cycle. So there are legitimate good reasons why Carolina is going to be offering some of these guys that are lower than those initial offers. So I don't want you to freak out about it and be like, oh, the talent is trash, Carolina is not going to get people. It's not necessarily that. It's just filling out the roster, finding guys that are, either developing or really about to skyrocket. So we'll keep our eyes on all of this. But again, 14 offers out there right now. Remember, you can only have 13 scholarships on a single roster. So all of that is where we're at. All right. On Tuesday, the Diamond Heels took off for Omaha to head to the College World Series. Betting odds are out, a whole bunch of fun things from FanDuel. Like to have some fun with that and talk a little bit about the press conference from Monday. We'll do all of that in just a second. The Diamond Heels are off to Omaha for the College World Series, one of 4 ACC teams on the way. And as a reminder, it's 4 ACC, 4 SEC teams. So one of those two conferences is going to be your 2024 national champion. FanDuel has several fun odds that are out there that you can see and mess with and play with. The most generic one is the odds to win the College World Series. Let me share those with you. Tennessee is the favorite at plus 240, followed by Texas A&M plus 320, Kentucky plus 4, Carolina plus 750, and then Florida State plus 900, Virginia plus 1,000, NC State plus 1,100, and Florida plus 1,500. All that's pretty, by the book in terms of rankings. Like it literally just goes down through the way the national seeds play out right there. Although actually Virginia has better odds than Florida State, than NC State, and NC State was a better national seed. So I guess that is the one flip-flop in this thing. But Carolina has pretty good odds, fourth best odds, which makes sense when they're the fourth national seed and the other three are all there above them. But it's going to be a little bit lower because they're in Tennessee's bracket. And so I think that factors into their odds being a little lower. There's a bigger separation from Kentucky. It's from plus 450 back to Carolina at plus 750. So those top three all have much better odds close together. So if you're in on the Heels, you got some pretty good odds there that you could get. One of the other betting lines that FanDuel has is where you can name the finalists, where you pick which two teams are going to come out of each bracket and be the two teams competing in that best 2 out of 3 actual championship round. Involving Carolina, the odds for Carolina versus Texas A&M are plus 700. Carolina, Kentucky plus 1,000. Carolina versus State, wouldn't that be a thing? Plus 1,800. And the Carolina and the Florida Gators plus 2,400. And so Carolina versus A&M is the third best odds. Carolina versus Kentucky is the second best, with Tennessee A&M and then Tennessee Kentucky being the two best odds or the shortest odds to get there. And I get it, that makes sense. But keep in mind, Tennessee is the number 1 overall seed. And I know there's like, oh gosh, they're the number 1 overall seed. They're not some just like juggernaut that's been killing everybody. Since the tournament went to the format it's in right now, the number 1 overall seed won it the first year that it went to that in 1999. That was Miami. Since then, in the however many 20, almost 25 tournaments since then, literally the number 1 overall seed has never won it since then. So, Carolina has great shot at this thing. They also have odds for the exact result of the championship. You can pick who's going to win and who they win it over. Obviously there's odds for all the various opponents that Carolina could play if they make it to the championship, but Carolina and Texas A&M, that matchup with Texas A&M winning it has the fourth shortest odds. Unfortunately, you'd love Carolina to be on top of that thing, but it is what it is there with that. So some very interesting stuff. And then perhaps one that intrigues me a lot is you can choose which conference the champion is going to come from, whether it's the SEC or the ACC. SEC is favored in that at minus 260, with the ACC at plus 190. Makes sense given the ranking of all these schools, but that's where that's at. All right, I want to go back to Coach Forbes' press conference on Monday. And what's really neat to me is you heard him talk about it, you hear the players talk about it, and y'all, I hope this doesn't come across as hokey, but he discussed at length how this season, the program, what he's trying to do, and the ways in which he's trying to connect with his players is all about love. It's driven by love for his players, for his team, and who they're going to be. This is instilled from the top by Scott Forbes. And I don't mind saying I'm here for it. I think it's a great thing. And part of this is, we live in this day and age and era of hot takes and inauthenticity and hiding behind computer screens. And man, I wish you all could see the number of just insults and like, Isaac, you're an idiot, and all that kind of stuff that that you just deal with on YouTube or on Twitter or in other places. And I get it. It's part of the deal of putting yourself out there. But real relationship like this that Scott Forbes is trying to instill with his team is something rare and something that there is a big premium on in this world. And I love that he is doing that with these young men in the realm of sports where it's all about being a man and, and that kind of stuff. And so, man, I just want to say good on you, Scott Forbes. And freshman pitcher Boston Flannery was interviewed on Monday in the dugout and was talking about this as well, and just echoed how much that means to him, how much he sees that meaning to his teammates, that this truly is a family and a team. And I love this because on Monday's show, we talked about Coach Forbes and the parallel to Hubert Davis, to Coach Davis, and how Coach Forbes is building on, but putting his own spin and identity on what Coach Fox has built, similarly to what Coach Davis is doing with the basketball program on the foundation built by Coach Smith and Coach Guthridge and Coach Williams and others. And now, in the very same way that Coach Hubert Davis is instilling with his program, like, we will be a program of relationship. I'm going to know my players and they're going to know me. They can't play for me if they don't know me. I love that that's what Coach Forbes is doing with the baseball team. And I know there's a bigger roster with baseball, but man, it is wild and shocking to me how a group of young men or young women who are all invested and all in with one another because they trust and have relationship together just is a completely different thing and a harder thing to tear down. It's like an army defending its home territory and just how much more it fights for that. And so, man, I love that is the tone and the tenor of this team. But don't mistake that for them being some ooey gooey, we don't fight for this thing. Coach Forbes talked about, hey, we practiced today on Monday, and we're going out there, meaning to Omaha, to try and accomplish something. We're not just going out there and hoping we can lace them up and throw the ball around a bit, maybe hit it here or there. He's like, no. Look, our goal is to go win some baseball games, hopefully enough to bring home a national championship to Carolina. And I love that, part of the way he's doing this is Carolina has hit on several transfers who have been part of it. And it's caused some guys that are staples in the program to have not had as big a role this year, like Vanderbrake and our guy, Johnny Castagnazzi and a couple others. But what I love is the way Coach Forbes has handled this, again, in love. He told them at the end of the year last year, even before we got into the offseason and transfer portal and stuff, hey, there's no guarantee that just because you started this year that you're going to start again next year. And they haven't. But the guys are so bought into this program and what they're doing that they stuck around and stuck it out. So I love to see that. And I love how players first, how staff first he is. This is about our family. And I tell you what, family goes a long way, and I'm hopeful that it'll go a long way this weekend in Omaha. As remember, the Carolina Tar Heels against the Virginia Cavaliers, 2:00 on Friday on ESPN to kick off the whole College World Series. All right, gang, thanks for tuning in today. If you're not subscribed to the show, you can do that on audio and video. If you're not part of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, come on in. We'd love to have you. The link is in the show notes. It's free to join. Come for the Tar Heels, stay for the community. It'll be worth your while. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow. Coach Rob will be with me. Love it. Don't miss out on that. But until then, peace.